Baina TV, connected to your world.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Baina News Update. We are broadcasting live from Medina, Binab House, Atomic Junction. We are bringing you stories that made rounds in Ghana and beyond within the week. My name is Aina Wala Hassan Adam. The Ghana Police Service, in collaboration with the Department of Social Welfare, have rescued 9 traffic victims from Yeji in the Pru East District of Bono East Region.
The joint operation rescued 4 adult men and 5 boys from exploitation on the portion of the Volta Lake in Yeji. 2 of the 4 adult victims were trafficked 20 years ago and were said to have been brought to work on the lake at age 3 and 5 respectively. And the youngest of the 5 boys arrived less than a year ago. After the rescue mission, coordinator, Media and Communications International Justice Mission, IJM, an anti-human trafficking not-for-profit organization in Ghana, Mr. Kojo Redu Kisi said, an operation by the 2 institutions led to the rescue of the victims in Yeji. He indicated that the rescue process was owned and led by government partners from the Ghana Police Service and Department of Social Welfare with technical and logistical support from IJM Ghana. Mr. Kisi expressed heartfelt gratitude to the 2 institutions for their dedication and unflinching support towards ending human trafficking on the Volta Lake. Mr. Kisi said 6 of the victims have been reintegrated and are currently at home with their families, where they would be supported to go back to school or undertake vocational skills, while 3 of them were in a shelter home. He noted that the master, now a suspect, recruited the young children to work on the lake for fishing. Mr. Kisi said the suspect controlled every aspect of the lives of the children, adding that they were not allowed to play or associate with anybody outside of the suspect family and will be punished violently if they did. He said the victims were identified to have been trafficked from the Volta and Bono regions.
The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, has called on chiefs and other traditional authorities to complement government efforts to protect the environment and keep our surroundings, especially rivers and other water bodies, clean and useful to humanity.
Speaking at this year's edition of the Ohum Festival of the Chiefs and People of Achim Ebuakwa at Chebi in the Eastern Region on Saturday, 25th June 2022, Vice President Baumia said it is the duty of present generation to uphold and defend the Asian tradition of keeping the environment clean and healthy for posterity and generations yet unborn. Historically, the Achims have used the Ohum Festival to thank the Almighty for blessing their land with the River. During this period, the sons and daughters of Achiman used products from the lands and the river as symbol to remember the ancestors who struggled and preserved in keeping the society intact, and further give pledges to continue the tradition and to keep the kingdom strong and free with prosperity and peace during the festival. However, the present state of the river and many other water bodies in the country leaves much to be desired. Dr. Baumia bemoaned. The Vice President further pledged that government will continue to pursue efforts such as Operation Vanguard to affirm our commitments to protect the environment and water bodies.
The road linking Cape Coast to Chifupraso in the central region, which collapsed on Sunday, June 19th, will be closed to traffic today for repair works.
Videos and photos showed a section of the road had completely caved in, rendering the route inaccessible. This was caused by the torrential rains in the region, which saw the Sorowe River overflowing its banks, causing the collapse of the bridge on the main Cape Coast to Chifuprasu Road. The bridge, which is known to serve commuters from Cape Coast to Jukwa and also from Donkwa on Ofin, was closed to traffic but subsequently reopened after initial repair works. However, the Ghana Highways Authority has asked the users of the road to use the Cape Coast Yamuransa Asinfosu to Chifiprasu Road. According to the authority, this is to afford its engineers enough time to repair the road adequately.
The Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources responsible for mines, George Mrekuduka, has disclosed that Ghana's newly constructed gold refinery, Royal Gold Ghana, is set and ready to be commissioned latest by August 2022 by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
The Deputy Minister made this known when he paid a working visit on behalf of the Sector Minister, Samuel A. Jinapo, to inspect the refinery at the Precious Minerals Marketing Company, PMMC, premises in Accra on Tuesday, 28 June 2022. Mr. Duka highly commended the team at PMMC, saying that he is impressed with the work done and particularly happy that the vision of President Akufo-Addo-led government to add value to the various minerals produced in Ghana is one cause with the completion of the refinery. He assured that government through the Lands Ministry will do everything possible to ensure the state-of-the-art refinery is put to intended purpose for the country to benefit fully from its proceeds. Mr. Duka hoped that the refinery, although currently being operated by foreign nationals, will soon create more jobs for the Ghanaians youth through knowledge sharing and also add value to gold produced in Ghana, as is the goal of the President Akufo-Addo-led government. The Deputy Minister stressed that the ministry is interested in building local human resource to set up and own mines that will rub shoulders with those of international standards like Newmont and Anglo Gold Ashanti. He hammered on traceability and changed officials of PMMC to ensure that the Minamata Convention on Mercury is met at all costs in the process of utilizing the refinery. After taking a quick tour of the premises, he disclosed that the refinery has already taken a test of processing the raw gold, and the results, I must say, are of very good standard, 99.9% pure. Very similar to what we saw in South Africa on our last trip to a gold mine there. The Managing Director of Precious Minerals Marketing Company, Mr. Nana Akwesi Ewa, expressed his appreciation to the Deputy Minister for his involvement and effort in securing the reduction of the 3% withholding tax on gold exports.
Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia has urged African countries to learn best practice from each other and the rest of the world, especially in areas of education and skills acquisition, in order to prepare adequately for the changing dynamics of the fourth industrial revolution.
Delivering the opening address at a World Bank organized ministerial meeting on education for West and Central Africa in Accra on Monday, June 27, 2022, Dr. Bawumia said while individual countries were rolling out educational reforms, collaboration would scale up the rate of adoption of such reforms and have a greater effect on their quest to build a strong human resource base. The meeting, which brought together ministers of finance and education from 22 countries representing West and Central Africa, will discuss key findings of the World Bank Africa Western and Central Education Strategy 2022 to 2025, framed around the strategic themes of finance and governance, tackling learning poverty and foundational skills, technical vocational education and training, and tertiary education and skills. It will also build a coalition on education and a movement for increased focus on quality education to promote human capital in the Africa, Western and Central region, and issue a call for action by ministers of finance and education outlining an expensive list of ongoing reforms in Ghana education sector, from reviewing the pre-tertiary education curriculum, reform of secondary education, focusing on access to free senior high school through establishment of the Commissioner for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, CVET and TVET service to operationalize the TVET space, to elevations of the minimum qualification for teachers from diploma to degree, as well as provision of access to financing of tertiary education in Ghana through the no guarantor policy. Vice President Bawumia called for cross-pollination of ideas on ways to make such reforms even better. Traders and transport operators' government feedback on mitigation measures.
In Africa, given the relatively small sizes of our economies, there is a strong case for adopting common regional and continent-wide approaches to navigating present challenges. Regional cooperation will help us to exploit the synergies that exist in our countries and speed up our integration into the globalized economy. Regional economic integration will not only help our countries access the expanded regional market within, but will also facilitate global competitiveness. It cannot be overemphasized that the continent needs to play an increasing role in the global economy so as to maximize on opportunities available from the interconnected world economy. The cumulative impacts of this pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict have been quite severe and are threatening to roll back the economic gains of Africa, with the continent's real GDP for 2022 expected to decelerate to 4.1% from 7%, according to the AFDB's economic.
The president-elect of the Ghana Journalists Association, GJ, Mr. Albert Daumfuo, has been sworn into office for a 3-year term despite the filing of an injunction by a member of the association against the event.
The swearing-in ceremony was done by Justice George Kingsley Kumsin on the Thursday, 30th June 2022 at the Accra International Conference Center. The other new executives were also sworn in at the same event. They include Linda Asante Ejay, Vice President, Kofi Yeboah, General Secretary, Dominic Huloji, Organizing Secretary, Audrey Dekalu, Treasurer, and Rebecca Ekpe, Public Relations Officer. In his inaugural address, Mr. Jumfuo said the days of journalists being harmed and people going scot-free will be a thing of the past. Ghana Journalists Association member Justice Lee Aduboy filed an injunction suit against the swearing-in ceremony of the president-elect of the GJA, Mr. Albert Jumfuo. Mr. Aduboy wanted allegations of the bribery leveled against Mr. Jumfuo in the lead-up to the polls investigated first before the swearing-in takes place. Mr. Aduboy is praying the court to, among others, declare that the offer of cash, favors, and/or incentives by the third defendants, Mr. Jumfuo and Samuel Amo Tobin, members of the GJA in the Western region, constitute electoral malpractice under the Article 52 of the GJA Constitution. In the petition, a member of the Western Regional GJA, Mr. Dotsi Kobla Aklobotu, alleged that Mr. Kumfuo, with tacit support from the chairman of Tobinco Group of Companies, Mr. Samuel Amoa Tobin, offered members of the GJA in good standing at a meeting, in addition to the buffet, an amount of 500 Ghana cedis to vote for Mr. Albert Jumfuo.
The Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers Association has hinted that consumption of LPG will decline by 20% by the end of the year if government fails to scrap taxes on the commodity.
Vice President of the LPG Marketers Association, Gabriel Kumi, says there has been about a 14% reduction in the consumption in the first quarter of the year. In the first 3 months of 2021, they did about 113,000 metric tons, but this year they have done 99,000 metric tons. This means that LPG consumption has gone down by about 13% this year compared to the first quarter of last year. They project a 20% fall in the LPG consumption by the end of the year. Mr. Kumi also expressed concern about the government's failure to scrap taxes on LPG to stimulate consumption. However, he stressed that the LPG has an elastic demand, therefore, any increase in the price of the commodity will deter people from purchasing.
The Economic and Organized Crime Office, (EOCO), has advised the general public to be aware of banking fraud.
According to EOCO, many people have fallen victim to fraudulent banking transactions because fraudsters have taken advantage of ongoing calls of customers of banks to link their accounts to their Ghana card to send fraudulent messages to them, requesting them to click on a link to update their bank records. EOCO noted that in the process, customers are required to provide details such as bank account numbers, mobile app PIN, one-time password. The general public is therefore advised against clicking on any link purporting to be for a bank unless there is confirmation from the bank. Also, a bank won't demand a customer's password, PIN, or OTP. The general public is also advised to report any suspicious SMS, email, or phone call for immediate action.
That's all we have for you. My name is Ainawal Hassan Adam. Do enjoy the rest of our program.
Baina TV, connected to your world.